Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here is pretty simple. We take a stack of sources, could be articles, research, maybe even your own notes, and we really try to pull out the most important nuggets, the key insights. And today, we're diving into something from Mind Over Misery, transforming thought to end suffering. That, well, I found personally really eye-opening. It asks this central question. Seems simple on the surface, but it's huge. Why does thinking often feel like the start of so much suffering? And maybe more importantly, how can that exact same thinking actually become the tool to, end it? I mean, just think about it for a second. Have you ever, say, waited for a really important email or even just a text back from someone, and you watch that little delay sort of snowball into a whole night of anxiety, worrying about your work or the relationship or even like your own worth, or maybe replaying some short comment someone made, something maybe totally harmless, and yet your mood just tanks for hours afterwards?
Yeah, it's incredibly common. We all do it.
It really is a common human thing. And the really surprising part, the sort of ha-ha moment this source gives us, is that the very same mind that cooks up all that suffering,
Right.
it's also perfectly equipped to dissolve it. It's almost like, our minds have this default setting, maybe helpful for survival way back when, but now...
Now it can inadvertently cause the pain itself, yeah.
Exactly. So this material really pulls back the curtain on those unconscious patterns, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what the source calls the architecture of misery? How does it actually get built?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's fascinating is how mechanical it can seem when you break it down. The source outlines 5 common mental moves. These are the ways ordinary stuff can turn into real suffering.
Okay.
So the first one is interpretation as fact. This is where, you have an immediate interpretation like, they didn't text back, they must hate me.
Okay.
And bam, it's treated like solid truth, not just, one possible guess among many.
Instantly fact. Got it.
Exactly. Then number 2 is story building. Our brains, well, they're basically story machines, right? We need narrative.
Right. We're wired for it.
Totally. But it's not just filling gaps randomly. Our brains crave coherence. They want the story to make sense, even if the story we build is actually self-defeating.
Wow.
If there's any ambiguity, any space, our minds often jump to the most familiar story or sometimes the most threatening one. It's that old survival instinct, anticipating danger.
Okay, so it defaults to the negative sometimes.
Often, yeah, especially if that's become a habit. So we can build these elaborate tales of, say, rejection or failure from tiny little things. We connect dots that maybe aren't really connected, filling in blanks with assumptions about what people meant or what's going to happen or even who we are.
That story building point, wow, that really lands. We do all tell stories. But what makes one story helpful, like, setting a goal and another one spiral into suffering? Is it the story itself or how tightly we cling to it?
That's a great question. And it's largely about the rigidity, I think, and the unexamined belief that the story is reality, not just a story out reality.
Okay.
And this gets even clearer with the third move, labeling an identity. This is a big one. It's when a thought like, okay, I messed that up, quickly shifts into, I am a failure.
Yeah.
See the difference? The action, the event, suddenly becomes your entire identity. It's super sticky because it weaves the thought right into your sense of self.
It's tangled up.
Exactly. Then the fourth move is prediction and catastrophizing.
Yeah.
Our brains are always trying to predict what's next, scanning the horizon.
Future-oriented.
Right. But when this goes off the rails, our minds can take tiny signals and blow them up into absolute worst-case scenarios. The key thing is our emotional systems react to that imagined future right now as if it's already happening.
Oh, wow.
It's like, your body is physically reacting, sprinting away from a tiger that only exists in your head. You're burning real energy, feeling real stress for a phantom threat.
That reminds me, I got a parking ticket once, and my brain went instantly from annoying fine to, okay, this is it. This ruins my credit. I'll never own a home. Cardboard box.
Haha, yes, exactly that kind of leap. It's amazing how fast the escalation happens, isn't it?
It really is. Wild.
And then finally, the fifth move ties it all together. Behavioral reinforcement. This creates these self-fulfilling loops.
Okay, how so?
Well, our negative thoughts, they change how we act, right? Maybe we pull back from people, or we procrastinate on something important, or maybe we even lash out a bit. And those actions then create new outcomes in the real world. Maybe people do react negatively, or the procrastination does cause a problem, and that seems to prove the original negative thought right.
So the behavior confirms the thought, which creates more of the behavior?
Exactly. It locks you into a cycle. So yeah, that's kind of the roadmap of how thinking can build pain. And this is the really hopeful part. The exact same mental machinery, the same agility that builds these painful structures. It can be retrained, rerouted, basically. With conscious practice, you can use it to dismantle them instead. The Source calls this the empowering flip side, and it rests on this core idea. Your thoughts aren't fixed things. They're malleable. They can be changed.
Malleable. I like that.
And the material lays out 3 key mind moves to flip the script.
Okay.
First one is just noticing, or the fancier term is metacognition.
Metacognition.
It sounds complex, but it's really just the crucial step of stepping outside your thoughts, becoming the observer, not the participant caught up in the storm.
Like getting some distance.
Precisely. Imagine you're in a blizzard. Right. Metacognition is like suddenly finding yourself hovering above the clouds, looking down at the storm.
Okay. That perspective shift.
That shift creates space, a vital pause between the thought popping up and your usual automatic reaction to it. It's simply noticing, I'm thinking right now. That tiny bit of awareness is huge. It creates that crucial space.
Okay, so noticing sounds like a really practical first step. Seems simple, but let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
When you're really stuck in a loop, intensely ruminating, just noticing can feel, well, almost impossible.
Totally. It can feel like trying to stop a freight train.
Yeah. So does the Source give any specific tips or maybe initial techniques for someone who feels totally swamped by thoughts just to get that first foothold?
It really emphasizes starting incredibly small. Like, maybe don't even try to notice the content of the thought at first. Maybe just notice a physical sensation that goes with it, tightness in your chest, maybe.
Okay. Body first.
Or even just identifying that a thought is present. Any thought, without judging it, without getting into what it means, just thought happening.
Labeling it simply as thought.
Yeah. And that actually opens the door to the second move, which is labeling and naming. This is where you get a bit more specific.
Okay.
So when you can label a thought like, that's my mind doing its judging thing again, or okay, that's a worry loop starting up, you're essentially drawing a little boundary around it. Putting a fence around it, you said. Exactly. It separates you, the observer, from the thought, the event happening in your mind. It stops being, I am a failure.
And
It becomes, I am having the thought that I am a failure. That distinction, it's incredibly liberating because if you can name it, you can start to relate to it differently. You're not just swept away anymore. Naming it takes away some of its power.
Right. It makes it an object you can look at rather than the lens you're looking through.
Perfectly put. And then the third move builds on that, reframing in action. Now, this isn't about pretending things are fine when they're not. It's not toxic positivity.
Okay, important distinction.
Very. It's about actively challenging the old story by generating new evidence. So you consciously change the narrative you're telling yourself, but, and this is critical, you pair that new narrative with small, concrete actions.
Actions are key.
Tiny actions, things that create new data points and interrupt the old spiral. So if your mind is screaming, I'm totally unprepared for this presentation, I'll fail. The small act could be just practicing the first 2 slides out loud, just once, or sending one essential email related to it.
Really small.
Really small, because that tiny bit of new evidence, that little action, it starts to chip away at the big, scary I'm a failure story. It proves it's not the absolute unchanging truth. And yeah, we'll definitely get into some clear, usable tools you can try out right away.
Okay, great. So just to recap then, the core idea, the big revelation from this deep dive, seems to be that thinking, it isn't just where suffering often kicks off. But because thinking is built on patterns, and patterns are learnable,
Right.
thinking is also where the healing starts. It's the entry point.
Exactly.
And the goal isn't to stop thinking altogether. That's impossible.
And probably not desirable.
Right. It's more about learning a new relationship with our thoughts. Through that, noticing the naming, and then choosing how we respond, how we engage. And I know the Source really hammers home that idea. Small daily habits beat one big effort. Which is why it suggests experimenting with the tools. And it even lays out a sort of 7-day mini plan, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes it very practical. And if we zoom out for a second, the really profound takeaway here is that just knowing this stuff isn't enough, right? Knowledge is most valuable when you actually understand it and apply it.
Application is key.
And learning to intentionally use those very same thinking processes, the interpretation, the story building, the prediction that usually escalate suffering, you can actually use them deliberately to de-escalate it instead.
Turning the tables on your own mind in a way.
Kind of, yeah. But, and this is really important, the Source is very clear on this, there are boundaries These tools are incredibly helpful for everyday suffering, for managing those cycles we talked about,
Mm,
but they are not a replacement for professional help if your thoughts are connected to deep trauma or chronic
mm.
anxiety or really intense depression.
Okay, that's a crucial safety note.
Absolutely crucial. So this raises an important point for you listening right now. If the suffering you're experiencing feels severe, if it's been going on for a long time, please seriously consider reaching out to a mental health professional. These tools can complement therapy, but they don't replace it in those cases.
Really important point. Thank you for emphasizing that. And the part that genuinely shifted things for me, and I think it might for you too, is this next thought. Given what we've discussed, that small actions create the most reliable emotional shifts, here's the question. What one small concrete action, something aligned with what actually matters to you deep down, could you take? Maybe even in the next hour. Something to just begin dissolving that rumination and step, even slightly, into purposeful change. We'd really encourage you. Try the short, maybe 2 or 3 minute guided practice that the source material offers. Try it right now. Or maybe just share this deep dive with one person you know who, as the source charmingly puts it, overthinks beautifully.